All right, we would like to welcome each one of you to the meeting tonight. We'll start with our pledge, and I understand that is from North, and it's Shalom Francis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I skipped a moment of silence, but Miss Patty, did we have any public input? All right, we'll move to approval of the agenda. Take a look, and if there's no issues, then we certainly entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Eric and a second by Casey, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So we'll move on to item F, approval of the consent agenda. And we've got our July meeting minutes. I did notice in those meeting minutes from last time, under section E, number 4, at the bottom of that, it says, all ayes with the exception of Ms. Marhesky, who voted no on policies 4.213 and 4.403. We really can't call out specific ones on that, Sarah. It's kind of a, either you're voting yes to all of them or no to all of them. If we probably need to change the minutes to reflect that.
So, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Patty can make those adjustments. And then we have the field trip request for, that is Huntland for FFA National Convention in Indiana. I'm sorry, it says FCHS, but it's got Jason Walker down, so it's.
And he's supervising it.
Okay. So we would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do you need those together or separate?
This fine.
Yeah, okay. Second.
So we have a motion by Ms. Roberts and a second. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. The consent agenda is approved. So I skipped over. We have our student reps with us tonight. We have Coachland Ringer, hope I pronounced that right, from Huntland, and Katie Hanger from FCHS. So glad to have you guys with us for the duration of this year. That moves us to the director's report.
All right, so we will start off first of all with a central office update on data, and that will be done by Ms. Sanders, our elementary supervisor and data.
Supervisor, data and testing. I'm Amy Sanders. I took Kim Tucker's place with a couple of changes in the things that I do. So I do district testing, TCAP testing, and data as well. So the things that we have talked about as initiatives for 2024 and 2025, we have talked to these about all of the principals in the schools, and these are the things we really wanted to concentrate on when it came to data. And we are implementing digital data walls in all of the schools, whether it be elementary or middle or high schools, to track student progress so that we can track those skills. And I'm going to show you what an elementary one looks like here in just a second. All of our schools have monthly data meetings that have been planned and on the calendar. They're looking at student work, they're looking at instruction for their teachers in the building, and making referrals when necessary to special education or tier RTI support. We also have an emphasis this year on TCAP data. I work mainly in the K through 8 realm of TCAP data, putting those figures together and looking at the trends that we see there. And approaching third grade data, I track all of the second graders last year as they move into third grade, and I track them throughout the year as we get closer to TCAP to see who may or may not be in danger of retention. And then we also have science textbook adoption on our plate this year for elementary, middle, and high school from the state. Digital data walls. We have implemented digital data walls instead of the data walls that we used before, where we might put up magnets or different things to track student progress. That allows all of us here at the central office, in the elementary schools, the teachers, everyone who is a stakeholder in the schools can look at that data and those data walls at any time. And those names and students move around on that wall as they take different assessments, as different data comes in from the sources that we have. And that hopefully is going to make small group instruction much easier for us as we start pulling those kiddos. And so this is just an example of a data wall that we are using in elementary school, with below in the red column basic, proficient, and advanced. And you can see the little colored boxes around the names symbolize where the kids started, and then they can move from there. So for example, Jenny Crabtree here started in the basic column, but she's already moved up to proficient on this assessment that we're giving, okay? And so that's a really easy way for us to track how well kids are doing, how they're moving within the tiers, and small group instruction as teachers get ready to pull groups or pull groups for RTI or intervention. Things are already kind of in place, and they can track a specific, they could track their CKLA reading standards on here, or they could choose math standards to track. It's very individualized for the school and for the grade level. Now we're going to look at some third graders. We had 378 kiddos take TCAP in the third grade last year, 23-24. Of those third graders, initially 61% of those kids fell into the approaching or below category. After we did appeals. I filled out state appeals. There were some other appeals that were available. Special education students with reading disabilities were taken out of that original number. Students retook the TCAP at the end of May, and then they were able to retake a TCAP test again at the end of summer school. After all of those things were said and done, we ended with 22% of our kiddos in that, I call it the retention loop. I don't know, every year they have to either make growth or they have to have tutoring again. And so that number is drastically smaller than where we started. Still not what we would like, but drastically smaller. As of the ones that remained, about 40 of those kids Originally, were in the approaching, and a little more than that were in the below category when they first took the TCAP. And so a good percentage of them were able to get an appeal or to have some kind of exclusion from that law. We retained 5 students in the county in 3rd grade. Every student who was retained was due to not attending summer school. They were below basic and they didn't fulfill that requirement of coming to summer school, which I called them and begged them, and we tried every way in the world to get them here, but we were still left with 5 who are being retained in the 3rd grade this coming school year. 4th grade retention, so those 3rd graders from last year, now they had to make adequate growth in order to be promoted. And so we had 2 students in the district who were retained in 4th grade due to just not making enough progress, and that was a decision that parent, teacher, and principal made. All of the other at-risk 4th graders moved on, and they will receive tutoring this school year again with the aides and the RTI teachers, and there is a virtual tutoring option from the state that some of them will receive too. So the majority of our 4th graders moved ahead and will receive tutoring this year. This is a look at proficiency levels from TCAP. You can see I've got 3rd grade up through English 1 and 2. We don't have EOC math scores back yet, but you can see our growth and our loss on the final column. This is ELA. We're making really good progress in 3rd grade. Of course, they're held to a standard that, you know, the other grades are not. 4th grade did not make growth from the year before, but if you look at, does this thing have a laser pointer on it?
There you go.
Okay. If you look right here, they were 35% proficient in 3rd grade. When they moved to 4th grade, they were up to 41% efficient. So that cohort of students did make growth of about 6%. We added about 6% proficiency there. It just, from year to year, it stayed about the same. And then you can see we had a bright spot in 6th grade for ELA. Some of the other categories, we're still working out some kinks. And then this is a look at math. We got new math curriculum last year. It was our first year to implement our new Savvas curriculum in elementary school. We had growth pretty much 3rd and 4th grade. Once again, this is that 3rd to 4th grade cohort. Made good growth as well. Huge growth in 6th grade. We've still got a ways to go, but huge 14% growth between last year and this year in students who were proficient. And these are proficiency percentiles. So you can see across cohorts, we've still, some of us are still a little bit behind or a little bit struggling. But for the most part, we looked better in math this year with our new curriculum that we were given last year.
Before you go away from the
Sure.
slide, so again, like last year's 5th graders, 36%
Yes.
proficient. This year, 26. Like, how
Yes.
much does the test change from like the elementary school tests to the middle school tests? Because I have a hard time believing that our students suddenly become like less smart.
Right. Usually we attribute some of that loss just to the upheaval of moving to middle school. I don't know. I can't look at the test, so I don't know exactly,
So who does look at the tests?
state and students.
Right. And so, to
No.
what extent do we have any assurance that the test?
So periodically, the state will send out a request through districts for test reviewers, for item reviewers, but not necessarily for the actual item that's going to be tested. And they'll send those requests out, but we, like to what you just asked, we are at the mercy of knowing what the state decides. It will vary, the number of questions from one year to the next that a child will test on. And then in addition to that, you then would have a change in said number of questions per standard from one year to the next year. So there are some variances in standard, variance in test question type, as well as test time.
And they will show us a breakdown of the standards that were tested and how many questions. Most of them, it's one question per that standard. They will show us that, but we don't actually know what the
Districts down through the years have asked to see, actual questions. If you're having a large percentage of children that are missing said question on a test, it would be advantageous for a district to be able to know what those questions look like, but that's not something that is relinquished by the state.
And I will say, middle school numbers across the state look about the same as ours do. There's not like really a bright spot, I would say, where people are really knocking it out.
It just seems so, so here we are, we're like, oh, our students, our teachers, what do we have to do? Like, how much are people looking at the test and the people making the test? We spend a lot of money to then make our teachers and students feel like proud themselves.
Yeah.
For sure. Any other questions about any of the data or any of the things that we've got going on in elementary and data world?
And to your point also, Ms. Marheski, it's interesting that the state has released the scores for this previous year, except for math in high school. We do not have any high school information for math because of the new standards
setting. It's what they
and
call
second
it.
grade, excuse me.
September is what
That's what we've been told.
on that one. So those kids, some of them have already graduated. I don't even know. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
For School Spotlight, we will have Ms. Easley from North Middle.
And it's delightful because it marries exactly what she was talking about. Basically, our plan at North Middle on being intentional, and I never know where to stand. I'm going to shoot our Katie. Are you cool with that? Okay, that way I can see all my friends. So this is how North Middle is intentional in building relationships, purposeful planning, and in student engagement. So one thing that we are really pushing this year, we spent an entire last week, so the first 4 days of school, our school planned out getting to know you activities for our students. So every teacher had about a 10 to 15 minute already planned for them where they got to just get to know their kids. Because what we've learned through research, and these are a couple of different quotes about that, is basically students have to have a good relationship with an adult to trust them. Once they learn to trust them, they will work for them and you will get results. And so we feel in our building that we are on the right path to those awesome relationships. And this is also modeled in our faculty and staff as well. So one of the ways we did that, the middle picture is what that grid looked like, and then I mentioned down at the bottom the question of the day. So we actually are going to, I'm going to skip ahead, we're actually going to go ahead and do a relationship builder real quick just because we want to be interactive in our time together. So the simple fact is you're going to get a die not tossed at your head, just kind of catch that. Whatever your right hand is, you guys are going to answer that question. And we're only going to do about 2 just because I know time is precious. I'm actually going to toss it to Katie because she's going to be my guinea pig. So Katie, which one did you get? Awesome. So her number 1 question is, what was the best concert you ever attended? Morgan Wallen, for those in the back. Awesome. So in the classroom, we would allow that student to have the choice to do that. I'm going to do it for us today because I don't need any injuries. I'm going to pass it over here to Miss Roberts. So here you go, Miss Roberts. And what question do you have? 6. Her question is, what is a topic that is not taught in school that you would like to learn more about?
I mean, there's so many options. This sounds cliche, but there's so many options that are taught.
Yes.
Everyone's doing such a good job, I don't have anything. I gotta come up with something. Okay.
How about retoss it, catch in your hand, and you
Okay,
pick
okay.
another question?
5.
5. What is the most meaningful book you've ever read?
Oh, okay. I can't remember the title of it, but it was about a homeless man and his relationship with a family that took him in and showed him Christ and changed his life.
Fantastic. So I will take that back. In a classroom setting, we'll step out of this example. You know, I as the teacher very quickly learned Katie likes country music. She likes Morgan Wallen. So if I want to make a connection, I'm going to quote some Morgan Wallen, maybe talk about going to a similar concert. Similar situation with the book. Oh, I haven't read that book. Can you look that up and let me know what that book is? And I would love to get back with you on that. 2 quick connections I made in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So just wanted to share that. These are some ways that we at North Middle are building those relationships. We have our morning announcements. Today's question of the day, what type of sauce do you like on your noodles? And let me tell you guys, kids did not know what a noodle was. So we had to learn, hey guys, here's the noodles, spaghetti noodles, rotini, tortellini, macaroni and cheese. And then we had to go over, how do these happen? When do we make these connections? Our teachers make them to make attendance. I stand in the hallway and yell at kids, what kind of noodles and sauce? And they're like, marinara. You know, they kind of run from you. But then at the cafeteria, we also go in and we have the kids do that at their lunch tables. Why are we doing that? Kids need to learn how to speak to each other. They are constantly on their phones. Put those phones down. Let's talk. Let's learn how to take turns. We have kids come up to the mic and share, so they love doing that. So that's something about our morning question. They really fight over the would you rather question. So if you want to come to North Middle on that day, that gets a little tricky, but they love it. So we also do check-ins. An example of that, every morning I stand in the hallway with my cart, with my music. This kid every morning, my dog's uncle, his dog is having a baby. My uncle's dog, sorry, is having a baby. So over the summer, I just kept waiting, and I'm like, so-and-so's uncle's dog, did we ever have those puppies? First day of school, y'all, the kid walks in, and he's like, yeah, the dog wasn't pregnant. And I'm like, oh, okay. So good to know that those kids look forward to sharing that information with you. So our kids come to school ready to talk to our adults about fun things because that's what they want to do. I'm going to go through these quickly because I have very little time, but I'm happy to go slow if anybody wants to chat later. Down towards the end part, you see Fun Fridays, Magnificent Mondays. Our kiddos earn the right to go do Fun Fridays in 6th and 7th grade. Our 6th and 8th grade. Our 7th grade chose Magnificent Mondays because they want their kids to look forward to coming to school on Monday. So instead of doing these activities at the end of the week, they actually did theirs today. Last Friday, our 8th grade did rock, paper, scissors competition. I lost in the last round to my sweet precious Braxton. So he's going to know forever I beat Miss Eastland in rock, paper, scissors. Say names often. Our faculty and staff, hello, Miss Jones, how are you? Or hello, Miss Phillips, how are you? Because when a kid hears their name, instant connection. And then we even have a spreadsheet that is the student connection spreadsheet. So it has every kid listed, and it says for any adult that works with that kid, I know the student's face. If you do, you put your initials. I know the student's name, put your initials. I understand where the student stands academically. I know what they're bringing to the table, put your initials. I know the family personally, in-depth personal story, or additional notes. So for example, my daughter is in 8th grade, or 7th grade. Beside her, I said biological daughter. So people know that I have a connection to her. And we're, again, not just doing that for our students, for our faculty and staff as well. So that's what some of the relationships look like at North Middle. Purposeful planning. This is year 2 on this concept. We have an NIET partnership, and this was something that we applied for through our ATSI grant. So we have a consultant. His name is Scott Duncan. He's worked with the district several times. He comes in and he does our instructional leadership team support as well as our shared instructional leadership team support. So the only difference in those teams, we have deans. So our deans come into those meetings, they help us plan. We basically run things by them. So when those deans are in there, we can say, hey, we have this really awesome idea. And they're like, oh, let's think about that one. Or they might say, have you considered this? And we're like, let us think about that one. So it's a good collaboration. And within the purposeful planning, we have a PLC agenda that we stick to. So on our desks, I have you guys a packet. The pictures obviously are really hard to see, so I did give you guys a packet of this information as well, just so you can see what this looks like at North Middle. So at the bottom of that, you'll see the 5 steps of effective learning, and everything we do in our building goes back to those steps. So when you have any kind of identify, that could be, hey, our deans brought this to the table, we as a faculty staff need to support that. So we're going to obtain the new learning, we're going to develop a plan, we're going to apply it, and then we come back together and we evaluate that. So that's the 5 steps of effective learning. During those PLC times, we also are doing everything based on data. So anything that's happening, we didn't just say, today we're just going to talk about blah, blah, blah. We're going to say, hey, this is the data we have, and this is what supports our decision in what that looks like in our PLCs. So with that step, you guys can see also at the top of that agenda, which I believe is the first page. Perhaps, Katie, I'm going to borrow yours. Thank you, sweet friends. It is the first step. So we also have the Hattie's Mindsets, and that's included in your packet. Anything that we're doing, we've spent a ton of time at the beginning of the year bringing things back to those mindsets. So our teachers know that efficacy of how important this is and how much our profession matters. Beside that, you also will see our Project Coach alignment. That observation model really supports how we're doing things for kids. So for example, when you have a teacher that's effective, that's great. But you want to push them to that highly effective. So they need to look at the verbiage, they need to look at the academic vocabulary. Every PLC has a goal. And then the last one on the top part is the students with disabilities and economically disadvantaged. Those are our students that we are on the ATSI list for. So we constantly have a huge microscope that's looking at these particular kids to know how we can support them. Continuing purposeful planning, we also have weekly collaborative planning, and this is new to our building this year. We've done 2 of them, and it is a walk before you run situation. We're so excited. We've learned a lot from each other moving forward, but in these plans, we have one of the SILT members who is also going to be the facilitator and the listener. So it's just the teachers planning with the support of one of those shared instructional leadership people as well. We're always using academic vocabulary, and then we're constantly going back to the best for all to correlate everything we're doing in the classrooms to make sure that the rigor aligns with the state standard. Learning walks, we do that with the Literacy Implementation Network. We constantly are giving feedback based on validate, clarify, stretch, and apply. Those are the academic words that we use, because any situation, when I go in, I want to say, hey, I loved how you did blank. Can you tell me why you did so-and-so, and then how could you make that to reach all the learners, or how can we improve that for everyone? So those feedback conversations are very important. Using high-quality instructional materials with Fidelity, and then I've already mentioned our NIET consultant support. And then Ms. Sanders did a beautiful job with data, right on board with everything she said, using those data trackings, using the data for meetings, and really it's guiding all that instructional planning. So anything a teacher does, why are you planning that? Well, this is the feedback I got from the students. So that is our purposeful planning. And our student engagement, this is again a new thing we're really excited about, and we call these the Gator goals. So when you say Gator goals, that means Gators own all learning. And the reason we want them to learn that, they come to the class and they're like, hey, what you doing? And math. Okay, well, why are you doing it? Because my teacher told me to. So we're trying to take that conversation out and make it more about this kid knows, hey, in math today, I'm doing blank. So this is actually an example from Terry Hanaway's class, who is outstanding. And they all have a statement, today I will, so the kid knows what they're doing. And then I know I've got it. So that I missed that step. So today I will, there's said, learn how to describe matter. So I've got it, so that they can classify. So again, they're tying these back to the academic standards, so they hear that same vocabulary. But the piece that's going to be a game changer is the I know I've got it when. So when a kid walks into the class that day, their whole focus is, I have 2 things. I have to group items based by property, and I have to use my vocabulary in a sentence. So instead of just being like, oh, today we're doing science, today they are classifying and they are using academic vocabulary. And this page is going to overwhelm you, but we're so excited. So this is actually my second to last slide. We at North Middle have shared a ton of things about our High Five behavior system. So this year we are moving away from that system to a much better product. And that product is called Behavior Support by High Five. Behavior Support. And what it does basically is it tracks that data behavior, but it also lets us have more communication with our faculty and staff. And what we're very excited about, it's going to make students understand financial skills. Because instead of just being positive, I get a reward, negative, I get a consequence, it actually goes towards what is called Gator credits, so they can actually see the ebb and flow of financial skills, but they also are going to have more accountability of, okay, I did this, I'm going to get negative dollars, oh, I did this, I can build that positive back up. So it's something tangible that they will see. Our entire Gator store is student created. So the students are actually going to create, they've started that process, and they'll be big ticket items. For $1,000, they can be the PE teacher for the day. They do not want to be the principal, but they do want to be the PE teacher. So definitely putting things into play for our kiddos where they're like, hey, I can save my money and earn this, but you're also going to have kids who are like, hey, I got to spend that money every time it's in my account. Therefore, we're trying to help support make good financial decisions. So this is a new product, but we will definitely keep everybody updated. And then I did want to put down at the way bottom the engagement strategies. Everything we're doing for our students, admin is doing in our PLC meetings. So if I'm talking about intentional seating arrangements, day one, my people walked in, here's your notebook, this is where you sit, here's what I expect you to do. So I'm modeling that for all the faculty and staff to see what should happen. So lots of exciting, happy things at North Middle. We would love to have anyone come and visit, happy to answer questions. So is there any question that anyone has I can answer? As I've overwhelmed everyone. I just get really excited. Yeah, great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ms. Easley. As you will hear, board members, this year the district theme is intentional in all things. That's the theme for the year. And so they're going to be doing a lot of intentional attention to given to specifics in school. So at this time, we're going to be intentional with HR.
And the HR department was intentional in getting people hired. July was a busy month, as you can see from the board report, but we have almost all of our certified positions filled. At one point, we had them all filled. That doesn't last very long. So we have 2 classified positions that are still open if you look at the second employment status. Under the other positions, the educational assistant at Huntland was filled today. And then we have a number of positions that are continuously posted. I thought you might also be interested in knowing how many of our teachers are on an alternate certification path. We will have 20 of our teachers that will have permits. Most of those are permits and just a handful of waivers. We have 12 teachers that are on the Grow Your Own pathway, and 7 are in iTeach.
Can you help me understand the difference between permits and waivers, please?
Sure. A permit is, we issue a permit to someone who is hired and they have a bachelor's degree only, no degree in education, no license whatsoever. So if they have a bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree in anything, we can give them a permit. The permit is only good for 1 year. Okay. And I can give them 3 of those permits, but then there's also another option for 2 more years. So actually somebody could be in a permit type of situation for 5 years. Hopefully, some point during that time, then we'll have everything they need to get a full license.
Thank you.
Dr. Coleman, Dr. Austin, when you say the Grow Your Own and the iTeach, these are the people from this school year?
Yes.
Excellent.
So the several of those Grow Your Own teachers, at the end of this school year, we're going to have to find them jobs.
So were they previously employed with us, or?
Yes.
And how many of those did you say?
Or what?
How many did you say?
All of these are employed with us. The Grow Your Owns
12.
are, the Grow Your Owns are, some of them are in a clinical practitioner situation, embedded, job embedded,
Okay.
and some are assistants that are working with a mentor.
That's great. Great numbers.
7 on the iTeach. That's
So the iTeach, the teachers have to pay for that program themselves. The Grow Your Own is funded. They do not have to pay for that. That's it.
Dr. Coleman, we've had, I know I've had, I'm sure other board members have too, had several questions about the training projects and you had mentioned that. And
Oh, absolutely.
Could you kind of tell the public what's going on with that?
Yeah, so the train project, we were fortunate through ESSER dollars to be able to do a lot of repair on the AC heating vac units. And so with that, as a part of the contract that was signed back in, I guess, 22 maybe, There were some specifications that were included in that specified where the degrees and things had to be set in order for the county to show what type of savings that they could get. And so now, during the course of the summer, the schools are not occupied, and therefore they're going to be running pretty good. Now that everybody's back in school, warm bodies are in the room, furniture is back in the room, bulletin boards and things are up, causes a situation where the rooms become very warm. But it is on Train's radar. They will be in town on Wednesday, and I have asked that they visit some of the schools that are experiencing some higher levels than others. But we have had some schools as well that are still on the old units that were pre-trained, that the county is working on to rectify those issues. So that's where we are. But I must commend Mr. Clark. The guy is absolutely amazing. He's our maintenance director. They are constantly on site, tapping in, finding out what's going on, and he's there, even hands on the ground, trying to find out what's going on as well. So that's where we are, and they're really giving it attention every single day.
All right, thank you. So that brings us to H, our legislative update by Ms. Marhevsky.
So, legislative reports are a little thinner in the summer when nothing's happening, but we had a TSBA summer law thing that most of us attended in late July. And one of so again, we've talked often about the Education Freedom Scholarship Act, which we all expect to see come back around in the next legislative cycle. But last year, one of the issues was also the possibility of getting rid of federal funding for schools in Tennessee. And one of the speakers at TSBA from the Sycamore Institute talked about that. And I guess they presented the pros and cons to the legislature. And here's a few facts which were interesting. I think about 11% of Tennessee's funding, which is about $1.1 billion, came from federal money in 2019. Because after that with ESSER, things changed, so that wasn't really an accurate representation because of COVID. She said only 13 other states were more dependent on federal dollars than Tennessee. And of that money, roughly 39% went to school nutrition, 27% to Title I, 21% to IDEA, and 12% to everything else. And so, again, certainly, I think in part she brought this up not because we can predict what the legislature is going to be interested in, but if they brought it up once, they may bring it up again. And sort of this kind of idea, paired with the possibility of the Scholarship Act, either of those could be problematic to education, because where does this money come from? What would schools lose if they pull federal funding, or if money goes to vouchers? And so in last month's, this month's elections, a few of our board members were reelected, including Chair Felicia Walker, who's not with us tonight, Sarah Lichty, who's also not with us tonight, Ms. Linda Jones, Mr. Eric Cole. And so, again, bigger elections are coming up in November. And so, keeping these educational issues in mind, vouchers, funding, it's just a great time to ask legislators or potential legislators questions and find out what their policies are, to see what kind of impact it would have on our state and our schools and our students. Thanks.
All right, that moves us to I, financial reports. We've got number one is receive and file for school reserves report. And so four of those. Jeannie, is anything just
It's all
normal?
So, yep. So the reserves are those are specific funds that are within the fund balance for very specific projects. Let me see. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary in there. If you haven't gone by the high school, they did get a chance to finally finish the Molly Abbott courtyard at the high school. So Mr. Peacock and Dr. Alsop were instrumental in getting that done. Everything else is just the normal flow through. You'll notice ESPs did go down quite a bit, and that is on purpose. So the ESP programs did purchase a lot of technology equipment for the schools this year, as well as Cowan ESP site got shut down last year, and so we distributed those losses, you could say, throughout the other ESP sites. So their fund balances are down quite a bit, but they won't stay that way for long because they've been doing really well. The June report, very happy about the fact that our sales tax actually ended up at 95%, which was amazing because we are still in the middle of the buyout with Deckard. So I feel really good about this year's sales tax numbers for FY25. As a whole, we ended the year really well. We made more than we spent. So we had a really good year. Of course, July's report looks a little thin because most of the things we report in July are reported in June. And what else do we have? Just the fourth quarter report. It's just a compilation of FY24.
All right, thank you. We need a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
All right. We've got a motion by Mr. Cole and a second by Ms. Schultz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 2, the August 2024 budget amendment. So we have 2 of those.
Almost 100% of these are state funds that we got the budgets for and or rebudgeting out of those reserves to put in the budget so they can start spending them for this year. And then Dr. Gwynn sent over a budget amendment and then rebudgeting the capital outlay out of reserve.
All right. No questions. We'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve both budget amendments.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Schultz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. So moving on to other financial business.
So I do need to ask for a motion. So as you might know, ESSER funds is coming to an end. We have to have all of the money on purchase orders by the end of September, spent by the end of December. We ended up with about $117,000 of ESSER funds that were quote unquote left over that we still had to spend. Back in FY23, we transferred $3.6 million from fund balance into capital outlay Fund 177 to cover, to combine with the EESI loan for the train and lighting project. So what we are asking is due to constraints. There are still some projects that are ESSER approved projects that Jenny and Chris and Stephen would like to get done. What we're asking is to take that $117,000 and repay Fund 177, which is the capital outlay fund, and pay those projects that we still have, will not be able to get done by December, and pay those out of the 177 fund. But since we did move the money out of the general fund into the 177, I just need a motion approving the use of the 177 fund to pay for ESSER approved projects.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that?
Did you say to repay or prepay?
Repay. So we've already paid out most all of the money that we moved over specific for the train project. So we would reimburse the capital outlay and basically just use those funds for those projects that were already ESSER approved by the state, but don't have as much time constraint on them to be able to get them done. That includes the, where's Jenny?
Sure.
What I know it's the film for the vestibules.
Film, and then Lori, we had the cameras, replacing some of the cameras where the vestibules got put in and they covered up the cameras. and some things like that. And this also helps us because everything we do under ESSER has to follow Davis-Bacon, which requires some time on the maintenance side. So if we move this into general funds, then we won't have to worry about Davis-Bacon, and they can get done. You know, Jenny and I talked, and obviously we're requesting that these be done before May of 25 versus December of 24. So it gives us a little extra time.
I'll make a motion to move the funds as described.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Jenny. So now we're into the new business, and we are, item 1 is approval of the 24-25 annual agenda. And this is no stranger to us. We do this every year. You can go through and see what all our monthly meetings have in store for 24-25. If we have any questions, I think I didn't see anything that's changed other than basically the meeting dates and some of the the district meeting info being updated.
Do we have the time for the fall district meeting? It's very soon.
It's all yeah, it's
At the
August.
time, it starts 5, 6, and this is August.
Yeah, it's at the end of the month. I think it's typically like 5:30.
It's kind of early.
Yeah.
I just, when is it due? Coming on.
Yeah.
Coming on.
Lewis County. So we would certainly entertain a motion to approve that annual agenda.
Motion to approve the annual agenda.
We have a motion by Ms. Roberts,
Second.
second by Ms. Jones. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item 2, we have our 24-25 certified and classified pay scales. These have already been approved in our annual budget. So I guess we're looking at them individually. Don't get that one, but guess we need to approve them.
I have a question.
Sure.
Bottom boxes there, I see some red, the changes,
Classified or certified?
certified.
Oh. Oh, yes. Certified staff with appropriate valid national board certification are receiving additional $5,000. That was the one we had voted on several years ago. We had an employee who did come to us with that. And then the other school psychologist with the NCSP received additional $8,000.
NCSP. Is that National Board Certification?
It is.
And what's the ABA? I'm not familiar with
Behavior.
Yeah. It's,
that. Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Some training, some additional training.
okay.
for others.
So is that coming from TSBA if it's in red, do we know? Is that their
I think
recommendation?
it's typically TSBA's recommendation in red.
Not on that. This is a recommendation from Dr. Gwynn. I will tell you, I spoke to her about the School of Psychologist National Certification, and she's fine with striking that if you don't want that because it's in her budget, and she is planning on giving all of her school psychologists the $8,000.
Right, that's a good point. You know, we've already hired these people with the understanding that would be
Correct.
their salary, so.
Correct.
Just know they're hard to come by, and that National Board Certification is pretty rigorous to obtain.
So we want to strike that.
I would.
It's in the budget, so it's not going to adversely affect the budget
You're just striking that particular component of it.
Right.
Just having national certification, because it's already rigorous enough.
Right, I just know they're in short supply.
Oh, absolutely.
By demand,
I don't want to
and
shoot
I know
ourselves in the foot.
And we've actually had some good luck hiring folks because of that $8,000.
So how many school psychologists do we have?
Two, I don't know.
Three, I think.
Maybe three.
And are they nationally certified or not? Or?
I know one
One
is.
is,
Two are pretty young in their careers, I think.
right. So we're of the opinion to give them regard the 8,000 just based on just being a school psychologist. I don't want to, I would hate for us to trap ourselves and try to keep that national board in there.
Well, you'd have to be looking for 3
We're
psychologists
already,
next year.
yeah, shortages across the board are already hard.
I'm just wondering if it helps to have some additional bonus, because what does the certification?
They would still get that 5,000.
They would still get the
Certified
5,000
staff
above
with
it.
appropriate valid for certification will receive an additional. So there's the potential to receive the 8,000 and an additional 5,000, correct?
But the national board certification, I think, I don't know that that's for counselors, I think it's just for teachers.
It's school psychologists as well.
It does.
That's what that was for. Yeah, I think it makes it a more attractive offer.
Data.
I'm fine with this, that's the will of the board, that's what everybody likes.
Do we have to vote on that? Can we just make a motion and recommend that change?
We can just tell Ms. Patty to edit that, change out.
Motion to approve both of those with the revision to strike that out.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Schultz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to outstanding POs as of June 30th, and that's Callan School. So we're going to have to get on to Cynthia, aren't we? So it looks like these are AT&T bills. So, anything we need to do with these? Jeannie?
I think you can just approve those. And basically what has happened is, AT&T, they messed up fax lines countywide, and school, they cut some of them off. And when we reached out, I don't know what happened, but they ended up having a $32 bill that was $1,032, kind of overnight. So we've had quite a few of our schools have been dealing with this. Lori has been in contact with AT&T. I think the vast majority of them fixed, but we're still waiting on those clean bills to come down. So they're leaving their purchase orders open for that purpose, because they are last fiscal year bills. We're just waiting on AT&T to not charge them a couple $1,000 for $32 bill. So that's,
So there's a plan.
yes, we are, she is working with AT&T to try and get them straight.
All right. You've heard Jeannie's explanation on this.
So I think that's just a receipt and file.
Motion to receive and file the outstanding POs for Callan's fax machines.
All right, we've got a motion by Ms. Roberts,
Second.
second by Ms. Jones. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is request for petty cash, and this is for Huntland Athletics. Motion to approve by Ms. Marhevsky and a second by Ms. Schultz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the mutual agreement with the City of Huntland and the school system. We talked about this at last month's meeting, and they were going to have the city attorney, Joey Johnson, take a look at this just to make sure everything was legal. Ms. Crabtree, is there anything additional that we need to know, or everything?
No, sir, we have been working on the property as we can. Huntland City is happy with where we are. They had sent, from the Huntland City attorney, a form of this that I had given to Jenny, and so we worked between what Huntland City proposed and what you all would agree with, and I will take back whatever you agree upon to the City of Huntland for their meeting next week, which should finish up both parties if everything's agreeable.
Okay. All right.
I worked with our county attorney as well as V.R. Williams to change some of the wording of what they sent over. Is essentially what they sent with just a few
Tweets.
They had some open-ended statements that we tried to refine as much as we could. So
Okay.
we feel between the county attorney and V.R. Williams, we feel very good about this agreement.
And that's what we're seeing is what y'all agree on.
Correct, yes.
And what do we anticipate the end date being? It says like number 2, the term of this is from, but then like, is this
It's
till next
it's kind
year?
of open-ended.
It was the initial thought was it would be somewhat open-ended unless the city wants to put an end date on that and then sign another one.
So we don't have to put an end date on it now, or?
No.
Ms. Marhevsky, they had the City of Huntland had suggested us revisiting maybe every 5 years just to see that both parties were still good. Right now, there is no facilities on site that would require electricity or anything of that nature that would create a bill, but sometime down the road there might be. That was the reason for leaving it open to if there needed to be some discussion.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Ms. Marhevsky. Second by Mr. Cole. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, policy updates. We've got a few of them here. So most of these are just recommendations by TSBA. 2.201 looks like it's recommendations from internal.
This has been common practice anyways. I think it's finally getting put into writing.
Okay. That's the line out of transfer authority policy. Anybody have any questions on that?
I wonder about 4.214 a little bit, the artificial intelligence one.
Use of AI?
Yes, there's still a lot of questions in this state about policies. Pretty much that's what TSBA is recommending at this time. Made a few minor changes to it. It is exactly what Tullahoma and some of our other schools around here are using.
I guess part of what I wonder about, so under student use, it says generative AI programs may not be accessed by students. And presumably that's at school. But what does this mean for students' use of AI outside of school? Because part of what it says is like, employees could use it to complete their own work, draft communications, develop content for instructional stuff. Are students allowed to use it to draft emails or messages, or?
We can't control what they're using the AI for, at home. And I don't know, Lori, is anything going to get caught in the filter, or?
I think a lot of the idea of this is
generative AI. There's a lot of AI built in that they're using anyway. This is generative AI. So a lot of what they were asking is how would we track it? Nobody really has anything in place to track this. So we're going to put it out for our teachers to begin using, look at it this year, see how it goes, and then see if we want to train the teachers how to use it and then bring it on board for students.
So all this is very new.
Right. And it's not going away.
But this is something like ChatGPT. I mean, I guess I just wonder if there are restrictions to what's allowed for like what's handed in by students or any of that kind of.
You know, I know there are programs that a teacher can use to scan student work, and it will tell you.
No, I mean, I just
It
wonder.
will also tell you the likelihood that it's been done through AI.
I mean, I'm just sort of wondering more about like sort of code of conduct expectations, like if it's sort of like we have, maybe this is something we discuss Saturday or something as a
It may be something we just need to
education.
see what the impact of our policy and what AI is going to be before we decide we need to, you know, go to it being a code of conduct issue. My opinion.
Try it for a year and see.
You know, I'm sure there are already students putting this to use for things to be
No,
submitted.
no,
and
no
so
one would do that.
So I guess I'm just wondering kind of what are.
So do you have a thing in place that identifies if someone turns in something?
It can't always.
We just currently have it blocked for students.
Okay. But I mean, if someone does it at home and turns it into,
That's up to the teachers there, but those give false positives, so it's also, you know, I mean, they give false positives. You can take a paper and run it through some of those, and one will say it is, and it's really not.
one will say it's not.
Right, so, yeah, it is.
I think it's
This
got a
is
lot
your
of
new
good
calculator,
potential.
and we're just
Yeah.
gonna have to be.
I think there's a lot of potential in there.
I think, and to your point, Mr. You're exactly right, it has a lot of potential. And with classroom teachers, until, you know, it's, of course, universities are already there where they can run papers and things through certain platforms to decide whether AI was used. But a teacher, there are ways that you can still do it because a teacher is going to know a student's verbiage and their usage. And therefore, if they did submit something, they can always have a student to write a rebuttal to support what they turned in, and you'll pick up very quickly if the child actually did it or if it was generated through AI.
And it's a good learning tool to see how something can be
Oh, absolutely.
written
Absolutely.
in a way that is acceptable for a child who doesn't know how to write.
That's right.
I mean, there's a lot of good examples.
Yeah,
in
so
there.
true.
This is recommended, I guess, through TSBA. This is taken up there.
We are required to have a policy.
I say that's a good beginning. We won't alter it many times.
It'll be 10 pages long in 3 years. Go ahead.
All right, any other questions on any of these?
I have some concerns with the therapy pet dog policy. I need much more information concerning that policy before I can pass it over. I don't know enough about.
I submitted this one with some help from TSBA. I guess I picked this up after the presentation that we saw a few months ago. Honestly, it's been a little while. I didn't have a lot of experience with it, so I reached out to TSBA. They gave me a couple of districts to benchmark with. I don't even remember which ones those were. They sent me their samples, and then they sent basically a sample therapy pet program policy, which is this right here that you've seen in red. The only changes I made was kind of when I went through it, there were some things. I'm trying to remember now what I changed from exactly TSBA's wording. It was very subtle. I think it had to do with the at the bottom, the confidentiality and things like that about, not making it known, who was in that therapy. And that was from one of the other sample policies that they've given. Otherwise, it was pretty much TSBA.
Eric, do we have dogs here, I mean, that are certified to do this?
We do not.
Okay.
Not at this time, we do not.
So,
It was near and dear to me. This one is. I've had 2 children at Children's Hospital in ICU, and both times that we were down there, it was at Erlanger. They brought therapy pets in, and it makes a huge difference.
we had them before at Broadview, a lady, I can't remember where she was from, but I think the dog's name might have been Sally or something. Sabbath, yes. But it was positive. The kids loved it, you know, but I didn't, my question was, do we have any here? But we would have to get them from somewhere else. Is that a cost?
Right.
What would that cost be if we?
I would have to, I don't know, maybe Dr. Brewer would know. I
I think it
don't
would
know what
make
it
it
costs to
possible,
do the
right?
training.
Well, I mean, it's always been done.
And they are covered by our insurance as well if something were to happen inside of the school. That is covered under both student insurance as well as workman's comp insurance. As long as we don't own the, as long as we don't own the.
It was mentioned, it was mentioned at TSBA this summer, that it's coming on the scene more and more, but the state has only approved like 3 schools or 5 schools to service pilots.
There's also been that pilot study, I don't think it's complete yet.
No, it's not. I think that this is really the initial startup of it, because they're fearful that people are going to start taking this and trying to run with it. So they've limited this year to the number of schools that can have it, but then I guess to gain some baseline data. And so I think this is why TSBA has developed a policy just so that you can have a policy in place in the event that you, we as a district ever decide, if so, yes, but then here's going to be certain criteria that you'll have to meet in order to even have a therapy dog.
And I don't know if everyone heard what Jeannie just stated, but Jeannie, you mind repeating that about the ownership?
As long as we don't own the dogs, they're covered. Normally, if something happens in the school, however, if we own the dogs, we have to insure those dogs. So they would go under essentially our liability insurance.
To me, that's the kind of information I need. I need to know more about it, and, you know, who's even gonna take the dog outside, you know, when it's gotta go outside. It's just, will it be a handler that comes with
Generally,
them?
those handlers take care of all.
And who are the handlers,
all of
and
those
we pay
things.
for the handlers, and where do they come from? I think, you know, just need a lot of information.
Well,
If we were to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we approve a policy, does that open the door to us having a therapy dog in one of our schools, or?
Now, I think the policy is there because there's some stipulations embedded in the policy that there has to be a presentation of evidence that says this is why you're wanting to have a dog in the school. And if the evidence is minimal, then I don't have to, you know, as according to this policy, it's in there for the building principal and the director of schools to have that approval on whether or not it's going to be something that I would entertain to bring before the board.
And I would be eager to see what the pilot study revealed. I know
Oh, absolutely.
the case studies that I've read, it was done at lower elementary levels. And like you said, it was young kids, you know, to see. And of course, you know, it's a small studies, but I'm eager to see what the pilot revealed.
Yeah, on our last superintendent's call, they were talking about it, and we had 2 that had them, but then they got rid of them because it snapped at one of the children. So you have.
It says on there that they are responsible for the supervision of the animals at all times, whether the handler is. Yeah. So the handler is.
Well, those handlers have to go through training with their animals. And it's a pretty rigorous, my sister-in-law has a therapy dog that goes in the hospitals. And they had to go through some very intense training, and they had to get certified through the state in order to be able to do that. So it's not just somebody coming up saying, oh, I want to bring my dog to the school because it's their dog. There's a paper trail that goes along with those animals and those handlers as well.
Some people know I'm not real fond of dogs.
Well, I mean, and I think that no one would be forced to. I think if the dog would not be therapeutic for the student, I'm sure they would not pair the student with the dog.
No, but there's one or two students I'm positive in the building that would benefit from the dog. But then there's probably 400 or 500 students in that building as well. And I want to be sure that we consider their either fears or whatever they may feel, I just need more information, and we'll go along with what the board decides, but I just don't, it's like AI. We don't know enough yet. So.
Like Eric said, like when one of my kids had to be hospitalized, they came around.
I can see that in the hospital.
And like one of my sisters is a vet, and she used to take her cat around like nursing homes and things like that. I mean, I just take a poll of how many people have cats or dogs or something at home. I mean, last time you go home, you're just like, oh, let me just take a moment, calm down, and pet you, and it's sort of unconditional love. It doesn't talk back. It doesn't complain about the dinner you just cooked or fight its bedtime. I mean,
is there a list of animals?
Now, they're not marriage counselors.
Is there a list of animals that can be?
It's
just dogs.
It's just dogs. Because I had a lady bringing a monkey into school one day and tell me it was a service animal. Do you remember that, Linda? She said it was a service animal, and I mean, that monkey was hanging around her neck.
This policy would define therapy as being dogs only.
Well, all right, is there any other policies where we have questions on?
No, if you do get the report, or find the report, bring it, and we'll, the pilot.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure Dr. Owen can send that out.
Send it out.
The interscholastic policy, 4.301, the very end of it, homeschool student participation. This is something that we voted on several years ago.
We've always done that.
To allow homeschool students to participate.
In TSSA bylaws, so I think they just wanted to make it legal.
But they have to participate in the area they're zoned for, the school they're zoned for.
And you have to remember, we're not zoned. So we have bus zones, but our schools aren't zoned.
Well, that's a good question then. So then how do you answer that?
So you could attach certain schools to middle schools, but if they choose to then go to a different school, because I think the county's always allowed them to do a zone exemption, and we review those, and if numbers and enrollment's fine.
So you're not looking at what their school should be by the area they live in?
For the home school?
The interscholastic things. If they wanted to play ball and they lived in the Broadview area, would they need to play ball there, or could they go somewhere
They could
else?
go anywhere.
So really and truly, that's.
But wouldn't that be the school that they're zoned for?
We don't have.
No,
So that's what it says in there, though.
We have bus routes that we use to take kids, but our county is not zoned.
But isn't that why kids have to apply to go to different schools because of zoning?
No, our county is not zoned.
But okay, so like my kid's Swanee Elementary School, it said they have to register their.
Your kid goes to Swanee Elementary because that's where the bus route takes them. If you wanted to take your kid to Holland, you could take him to Holland.
But they had to apply to go to a different school.
Outside of your bus route. Our county is not zoned. If it is, show me the map. Somebody show me the map.
So
Is it not
I think
on
that
this?
application
Oh.
has
She's
on there
thinking the
that
same
you're
thing.
agreeing that you were transporting your child.
Yeah, the application.
Yeah, there's,
It's not,
You can take
that's
your child in
the
North
main
County.
part of it is you're agreeing that I realize no buses go from Sewanee to Huntland, therefore I'm responsible for taking my child back and forth.
Then do we let everyone go to the school of their choosing?
If seats are available, would we do those that request a zone exemption because of the bus? The way that the county currently has on the form, it's called out-of-zone bus transportation. It's what it's called on the form.
So
out of zone means only for busing. I'm confused.
I'm confused.
Yeah, this is.
According to, yes, in Franklin County, the way that it's verbalized is you have it's called an out-of-zone bus transportation. So currently, students in Franklin County, the way it's set up, can go to any school. Now, it's something that you may want to look at because as you start looking at numbers, you have to be mindful of the seat counts at said school. So this year, when we sit down and went through every zone exemption, we had to look at the seat count at said school because you don't approve zone exemptions just so kids can go to the school, but then you don't have the teacher personnel for that. Because if you did allowing just letting kids go, then you're saying I'm going to add another teaching position to that school just so kids can be there.
And there was a law change not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago, that requires us, if there are open seats, to allow those.
That is
Before
correct.
we had the flexibility, but then there was a law change.
Right.
That if there are open seats, as you were speaking of. that we
Because
have to
those
allow.
open seats, what happens is you have to then look at the ratio according to the state. When we look at enrollments, I don't look at just the grade, I look at the grade cluster. Because kindergarten, first, second, and third, you take the total average of those students, and if you're under the state ratio, then you're still good. The state says that you can't have no class kindergarten through third grade no one class can have 25 children. But as long as the ratio is at the ratio mark, then one class can have 23 and another class can have 24.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way this reads to me is that homeschool students that are zoned for the school, so is that clear to anybody, unclear to anybody besides me, because it's, or just zoned, bus zoned for a certain school, then they would have to pay at that way? I'm not sure I understand that.
I think because the reason TSBA wrote it this way is because probably 90% of your school districts probably have zoned schools.
But we have zoned buses, so that doesn't mean that that child is zoned to ride the bus to a certain school, that they have to pay at that school, is what I'm asking.
So I would think as a board, you may want to decide to add that language in there.
I mean, if you've got a kid that wants to play high school ball, say he's not good enough to play in Winchester, but he's good enough to play at Homeland, just based on the size, are you going to tell that kid, I'm sorry, you can't play, you're not zoned for Homeland? No, you're not going to tell that kid that, you're going to let him play.
But that's not the way this reads.
Well, it says it, basically the way it's zoned, we have no zones, they go anywhere they want to.
So,
As long as the
so
parents
this
live-
for the school has nothing really to do with it. That's
But
what we probably need to take out.
But if you say they can go anywhere they want to, but then that's not really true.
As far as athletics.
As far as athletics, yeah.
But I
But
mean,
you're not-
I'm
you're
saying in
talking about
terms of
other things.
school, then that's different applications of the.
I think we have a common knowledge in our community that we are zoned.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have the understanding that it's basically bus.
Well, I didn't.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna.
I found that out a while back, yeah.
Well, you
Because
should have told us.
I thought it might be too, I mean, but,
It also
yeah.
has a lot to do with TSSAA.
Anger, you have something to say?
When I was homeschooled in middle school and I did sports for the public school, you could go to where you wanted to play, but in swim, with the TSSAA, you had to swim for your zone.
So I laid all my sports for South, but they made me, I got a letter sent from the state that I had to swim for North. They did not allow me to swim for South. So I don't know if that goes into more of the state's decision, but they did make me swim for South.
And about 80% of our middle school sports are combined with North-South WCA as it stands right now, except for cross-country, track, football, and basketball.
Well, I just need to know what to tell somebody if they were to ask me. That's why I'm trying to clarify. Because I've always thought they had to play for the school that was on.
It's really good to tell them to go to home.
I'll say, Mr. Williams said if you're good, you need to go home.
That's right. All right, any other questions? So how do you guys want to proceed with voting on these? You want to vote individually or lump them as one, or? You want to vote individually, Ms. Jones?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So, policy 2.201. We need a motion to approve or not to?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Schultz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion 2.403, surplus property sale.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Cole,
Second.
second by Ms. Jones. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 2.806, bids and quotations.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Cole,
Second.
second by Ms. Marheski. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. 3.2181, therapy pet program.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Cole,
Second.
second by Ms. Marheski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that passes as well. 4.214, use of artificial intelligence programs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries. 4.301, interscholastic athletics.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Cole,
No.
Second.
second by Ms. Jones. Sandy jumped the gun there a little bit.
But I'm speaking for myself.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
All right. So that carries. We have 5.307, physical assault leave.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Schultz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 5.802, qualifications and duties of the director of schools.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion to approve by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries as well. So item K is for information. It's the director of schools evaluation for 2024. And we don't have to go through these. We can all read all the comments and look at the scores. I would say that if any of the board members who made the comments here, if you would like to speak with Dr. Holman about this evaluation in greater detail, I would certainly arrange a meeting. Or if Dr. Holman would like to speak to us individually, he certainly has that option as well. But we can all see that and see where those standards fall out. So it looks like we have a board retreat for scheduled meetings on August 17th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at UTSI. And Dr. Holman sent us the directions on how to get there. Do we we have an address, a physical address for that, for the?
Yes, I think it's on there. It was, if not, I'll make sure it's on there.
We just need to post that for the public, just in case.
Right.
Any of the public wants to. That's at the UTSI Space Institute. Lower A entrance. I don't see a street address, but let's see. I don't see a street address here, but I'm sure. Yeah. Sandy said we could ask AI. I've got 411 BH Gothard Parkway, Tullahoma, 37388. So, looks like we'll be meeting there on Saturday, 9 to 2. Do we have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Jones, second by Ms. Schultz. We are